The aim of this lecture is to answer the question, how can a company manage its spending? After this lecture, you will be able to understand how fashion and luxury firms can classify their spending to define their procurement strategy. The key to a successful procurement management is to adopt a differentiated strategy for each type of product and service, which are usually called purchasing categories. A one-size-fits-all approach does not work. Each category requires the most appropriate strategy. Indeed, fashion and luxury companies buy a broad portfolio of categories with different characteristics and consequently need to be managed differently. We have already discussed some of the elements that drive the choice between collaborative and competitive buying, but there are a few more to be considered. The most famous model for procurement portfolio management is the Kralitsch matrix, proposed by Peter Kralitsch, a McKinsey consultant, in a famous paper on the Harvard Business Review back in 1983. The matrix allows to classify purchasing categories according to two dimensions: strategic importance and supply market complexity. Strategic importance is defined as the impact of the category spend on the total purchasing cost, and the impact of the category on the value perceived by the final customer in terms of competitive advantage. For example, a special fabric made exclusively for a certain brand and recognized by customers as a unique feature is surely more important than a standard generic fabric. So, the higher the strategic importance, the higher is the impact of the category on the overall results of the company, in terms of both costs and revenues. Supply market complexity, instead, considers the number of suppliers available on the market for each category. The fewer the suppliers and the lower the supply capacity compared to the demand, the higher is the complexity. This dimension measures how difficult it is to buy this category. Since the fewer suppliers are available and the lower is the supply capacity, the weaker is the bargaining position of the customer. And in the worst case, it may even become difficult to find what is needed, no matter the price paid. By combining these two dimensions, Kralitsch proposed a 2x2 matrix, where each purchasing category can be positioned and classified in one of the four categories: non-critical, leverage, strategic, and bottleneck. For each category, Kralitsch also proposes the most suitable procurement strategy. Non-critical items are those characterized by low strategic importance and low market complexity. Therefore, these items are not differential and relatively easy to buy, and the recommended approach is competitive buying, with a multiple sourcing approach in order to obtain low purchasing prices. An example of non-critical items are standard low-cost components, such as zippers and inner lining. Leverage items are characterized by high strategic importance and low market complexity. Therefore, they are very relevant for the buyer who has a favorable bargaining position and can leverage the procurement of these categories to obtain significant benefits in terms of both price and differentiation. The recommended approach is dual sourcing in order to balance the advantages of competition among suppliers with the benefits of collaboration from a strong position. An example of leverage category for luxury brands is product assembly. Many brands rely on several specialized small suppliers with whom they establish long-term relationships and who are dependent on their customers and therefore provide value-added benefits. Strategic items have high strategic importance and a complex supply market. Therefore, they are very relevant for the buyer and difficult to buy. The goal for these items is to find win-win agreements with suppliers to ensure the access to high-value supplies. The suggested approach, and often also the only viable one, is single sourcing, establishing collaborative long-term relationships with mutual benefits for both parties. This is the case, for example, of external designers who collaborate with luxury brands to provide unique services, or world leaders in a certain component, such as Brembo for Ferrari. Finally, bottleneck items are characterized by low strategic importance and high market complexity, which means that these items are not particularly relevant for the buyer, but they are difficult to buy. These items do not provide any differential benefit, but may generate troubles if they are not procured, thus becoming a source of delays and problems, hence the name bottleneck. This is clearly a situation to avoid, so the recommended approach is first of all to try to eliminate these items by substituting them with others that are easier to find on the market. If this is not possible, another alternative may be considering to insource them, moving to a make solution. If this is also not possible, the only alternative remains ensuring the availability of supply by finding agreements with suppliers, accepting to pay whatever is needed. An example of bottleneck are crystal windscreens for luxury yachts. The supply market is made of few giants who serve large-scale industries such as automotive, and therefore the little volumes of luxury are not particularly interesting for them, and customers may struggle in obtaining what they need. In summary, in this lecture, you have learned how to use the Kralich matrix to classify the purchasing portfolio of a firm according to strategic importance and supply market complexity, and to identify the strategic priorities and recommended approaches for each category.